Joining me now is NBC News senior reporter Brandy Zadrozny. Also here, Nina Jankowicz, a disinformation fellow at the Wilson Center and the author of How to Lose the Information War. Good morning to both of you. Brandy, Facebook's got a new company name, but real change doesn't seem to be afoot with the main problem that you and Nina have been talking about for years, and that is the continued spread of disinformation, which, by the way, seems to be solvable. But most of this disinformation that you have reported on comes from a relatively limited number of users. It starts with a relatively limited number of users, and it does seem that Facebook is able to identify it.
Yeah, I mean, we have the same papers. We've been looking through them too, and I think that has been one of the takeaways that's so, I don't know, striking, is that, you know, the Facebook's problems really do lie within a few power users, right, who take advantage of the core problem of Facebook, which isn't actually lies. It's, you know, I hate to use the rhyme actually, but size, right? Facebook is too big to monitor its own platform, and the incentive structure is all messed up, right? It's virality. So, you know, folks who want to spread a political message or want you to buy their, you know, vitamins or everybody's looking for this virality, looking to grow big or grow rich or tell lies through this incentive structure. So, you know, we could do something about that. The internal research says actually, oh, if we just turn all of these knobs down and just quiet Facebook and just maybe have people have real connections, then maybe that would all go down. And that's something that they call content neutral. And it's brought up again and again and again in these papers. And then every single time, though, of course, Facebook's never going to do that, because not only do they want to be as big as possible, now with this Meta thing, they want to be everything to everyone all the time. It's scary stuff.
So, Nina, this brings up a whole new set of questions. Facebook has identified what the problem is. Facebook has the ability to fix it. Facebook, as a feature, has decided not to fix it because this is a very profitable feature for them. And the question becomes, what responsibility does Facebook have to the rest of us? And whose responsibility is it to make sure that Facebook is actually responsible? Because everybody's researched it, no one's done anything about it.
Yeah, I think this has been a really frustrating time for people like me who have been researching these problems. A lot of the things that have been coming out in the Facebook papers are things that I've written about for years, right? And I'm not the only one. There are a group of us who have been sounding the alarm. And so I think it's time for us all to scrape our jaws off the floor and get to work. Not only Facebook, which has clearly been basically intransigent in fixing its own problems, but Congress, which through its own, you know, partisanship has really lost a lot of time and created such a large hole that we now find ourselves in, with Facebook now, you know, moving into the metaverse, which frankly, I want no part of if Facebook is at the helm. They've shown no corporate or technological responsibility to bring us into an area that could open us up to more and more harms. And we need Congress to do something about it, just like they would regulate an unsafe vehicle or airline.
So, Brandy, if Congress is where responsibility could lie to at least start fixing this, is the reason they haven't done it because of partisanship or just ignorance of the issue? Because when you see these hearings at Congress, you see a handful of members of Congress who have some really good, tight questioning that indicate that they are well read on the issue and they understand what solutions could look like. And then there's just a lot of nonsense that goes on that leads me to believe that this Congress is not going to be able to fix this problem.
Yeah, so is it partisanship or just not knowing what's going on? I think why not both? You know, there are a lot of different ideas for how to solve this problem, right? Anybody that says this is a simple fix obviously is not well researched on this topic. It's really complicated. There are people like the whistleblower Frances Haugen thinks we should, you know, sort of fix Facebook from the inside, have some outside research help. There are others who think we should break it up with antitrust legislation. Some people say that we should hack away at Section 230, but every solution really has its problem. So the fact that they're taking a long time, I find it to be a normal problem to have. This is a really, really hard problem to solve.
Stand by. I want to continue this conversation about how we actually regulate this and how we can come out on the other end with some success. Brandy Zadrozny and Nina Jankowicz. I want to continue the conversation after a quick break. With me now, NBC senior reporter Brandy Zadrozny and digital and disinformation researcher Nina Jankowicz. Nina, I want to pick on something you said about regulating social media and digital companies the way we might legislate airlines. Airlines could actually run more profitably if they did things that were a little less safe. I assume in the long run they figured that's better than crashing planes. But the government has been very clear on the fact that your ability to make more money does not trump dealing with public safety matters. As Brandy has pointed out many times, there's real danger that comes out of social media. Forget the decline of democracy, but the medical disinformation that comes out of it. Why is it so hard to apply those types of public safety rules to the internet?
Well, Ali, I think that for a long time, congressmen and women just didn't believe that online harms could become offline harms. Around this time last year, I was testifying before the House Intelligence Committee, and one of the members of that committee really took issue with my thesis that disinformation was dismantling democracy. And I thought of him on January 6th when, protesters were storming the Capitol. This is clearly a public safety issue, and now that is being laid bare before us with these Facebook papers. So hopefully this is a wake-up moment for Congress people. Obviously, there are free speech issues to get around here, but this is a country of ingenuity, right? If the European Union can do this, if countries like Estonia can counter disinformation, they're small, they have less money than us, then why can't the United States do it? Let's step up to the problem and protect people.
Brandy, what do you think of the idea? I think Roger McNamee and others have floated it of an FDA-style entity that governs the internet. Is that possible?
Sure. Who's going to sit on it? There's a lot of questions for this. And I think that, you just look at, like you said, the hearings in Congress. And although the questions are getting a little better, there was a science subcommittee that did an excellent job the other day. But there just really is a misunderstanding. So I think there's just a lot of complications that come with this. When it comes to like solutions, the solution set of conversations, that's where I always get a little stumped, because there are a lot of possible solutions, a lot of things thrown out there, but we haven't really tried anything here. And, we have, the First Amendment, and we have like specific things in our country that make it a little more difficult to regulate speech on the internet. And I just think that it's a very hard problem. Solutions are not going to be just as easy as slapping a warning sticker on something, or having an FDA of the internet, and that solves all our problems. And
lying's not actually illegal; it's protected speech. Nina, interesting point that I saw in an op-ed the other day, and it said that if the Meta rebranding is Facebook's way of truly pivoting away from social media and fully toward virtual reality, that's even worse. We barely trust tech platforms with the internet. We certainly can't trust them with virtual reality. As we increase the use of virtual reality and augmented reality technology, we blur the line between cyber and physical spaces. Interpret that for me. How dangerous is it now? I have one of those Oculus things, from Facebook. I use it for exercise, by the way, despite the fact that it doesn't look like I exercise that much. But to me, it's just a fun thing. What's the danger of the fact that Facebook's irresponsibility in dealing with content could now become my virtual reality?
Well, let me speak to you as a woman, Ali. Brandy and I have both received some pretty grotesque, vitriolic, violent threats online. And imagine if that is no longer just text-based threats. It's someone who feels like they're in the room with you, saying that to you, threatening you. We haven't solved those problems for the virtual reality that exist. Facebook has, shown that it is really reticent to solve those problems on the platforms that it exists. And frankly, I don't trust them to solve those problems in a world where those threats are much, much more harmful and meaningful and are going to affect people, especially women, minorities, and people of intersectional identities. So we got to slow down here before we dive into this universe head first. And frankly, as I said before, I do not want Facebook at the helm.
Brandy, what do you think of this? Because what Facebook does in the world of virtual and augmented reality right now is very different than the posts that are on social media. It's a completely different world. Are you worried that the same governance structure at Facebook could cause this to become another dangerous platform for things?
Oh, yeah, I think it's it's insane for anyone to think that Facebook would be a responsible, or Meta, sorry, would be a responsible steward for this new reality. Like, it's just, that's a non-starter. Like, it just seems so clear that this is not the company that we should entrust with that responsibility. I think that Facebook, a part of this is trying to find out, a way to be cool again, because they need children, because they're not on their platforms, and they're leaving even the platforms that they do have, Instagram, right, to go to Snap and to go to TikTok. But I don't know. The metaverse also seems like an incredibly far way off right now. It seems like all they've figured out how to do is put pantsless avatars in online meeting rooms. So I'm not so scared yet, but I do think that we should be very, very skeptical of Facebook or Meta's move into the new reality.
The two of you are the canary in my coal mine. So when you tell me it's time to be worried, I will be very, very worried. Thanks to both of you for joining us this morning. Brandy Zadrozny, NBC News senior reporter. Nina Jankowicz is a Wilson Center disinformation fellow and author of How to Lose the Information War. And that